Good, I suppose it's afternoon, evening for you, but good morning to everyone and welcome back. I'm absolutely looking forward to the weekend, I have to say. It's back to school week here in France. This is the first full week anyway. They had a couple of days last week. I tell you what, I swear I've aged. I've gone more grey in the last week. Early mornings. But one of the things that I really wanted to update you on is the situation with Roger. You can see obviously I'm in old Terry the taxi, but what happened to Roger the Range Rover, and where did I get when it comes to my talks with Land Rover themselves? Some of you might have been in this situation before. Some of you might have had this happen to your car. You might not have a warranty and not be covered for this situation, which is exactly the situation I'm in. Now, I did contact Land Rover. I found the contact name for someone very high up. I like to use this tactic if I'm trying to make contact with someone. If you just contact someone through your general dealer, the way that the networks of the large company like that work, you never really get anywhere. So I went to the head of Land Rover France, I think it was, found their email address after a lot of searching. Googling is one of my top skills, I have to say. And so yeah, I spent a lot of time looking for their email address and then contacted them to explain the situation. You know, and if you don't know what's going on, check out one of the previous videos of my engine failure on my 2017 Range Rover Sport. But yeah, it's the typical issue of spun bearing, and right after the crank, I believe, it's still in the mountains, so I need to have a full investigation or breakdown of what it is, but I need to get it back here first. But I'm not going to do that until I have an actual plan of what I'm going to do, and I wanted to see where we were going to get with Land Rover themselves. So I contacted Land Rover, explained the situation, and I said, look, you know that this is a known issue, you know this happens a lot, and you check around the internet and it does happen a lot. So I pleaded with them basically, and I gave them my VIN number, all of my details around my car, and they went off. And in fact, I wasn't expecting to get anywhere with this. Sometimes the tactic works, sometimes it doesn't. Yet I received a phone call about 2 hours later after my email from someone, head of customer experience or something like that, and that's who I then gave my VIN number to. They did a bit more digging, and I was hoping that a favourable outcome would come out of this. Now, for me, it didn't, and I'll explain why. Unfortunately, the last service on my Range Rover wasn't done by Jaguar Land Rover. So what that meant was that they won't touch it. Now, if my previous service was done by Jaguar Land Rover, they would have done the work, whether it would have been free, whether they would have just subsidised it in some way, but they told me that they would have been able to, from a political point of view anyway, done a bit more to help. Because it wasn't last serviced by Jaguar Land Rover, they are unable to politically, they've told me, because of the company politics and all this sort of stuff, support me any further with this. So this means I am on my own when it comes to the repairs. They said that they put me in touch with my local dealer, which is my Mulhouse one from here, and they would give me a rough quote. They can't give me a full quote until they see the car, but I don't want to obviously give them the car unless I have a ballpark of what they tell me it's going to cost. So one thing that's reassuring for you guys, if you don't have a warranty on your 3-litre TDI engine, whatever, for the Range Rover Sport, and this happens to you, contact someone high up in Land Rover, as long as you have full Jaguar Land Rover service history. If you have full Jag Land Rover service history, I believe you'd be able to get somewhere with this. I don't. So that's left me unable to get any support, and now having to work out what to do. So I have some options. Firstly, they sent me a quote, and I asked in the community tab what you thought the quote was going to cost. How much would it be? Less than 5 grand, 5 to 10, or 10,000 plus? It doesn't really matter what currency this is in, because the answer is just under 15,000 euros, which is what I expected, to be honest. I thought it would cost 10. 15,000. So 15,000. Imagine the cars I can buy for 15,000 euros. That's what my Range Rover is going to cost to repair by if I go with Land Rover themselves, right? So that clearly isn't my best option. So now I need to work out exactly what I do. So I've got a couple of options here as well. And before I go into those options, why don't you take a look at this when it comes to luck? Oh, what's that? What's that? Is that a nail sticking out the side of your new tyre? I mean, that's good, isn't it? Fuck off. So I reckon I can get that plugged, but I reckon if I pull that out, that's gonna go down. Fuck's sakes. Pain in the arse. So I reckon I'm gonna have to switch this back to the stock wheels just to start for the moment now anyway. I got to throw it through the test anyway, so I'll whack the standard wheels back on and chuck it in the garage next door and get the steering rack changed over. I mean, that's my cheapest option right now. My second cheapest option, obviously I'm going to be using the C1. That's fine, it's cheap to run, that's option. One option I have, that beauty, is option 2, so I use that anyway. It's like got no history. I've literally no idea anything about it. And when it comes to spare parts, it's not exactly like easy to just grab London taxi parts, but I do need to give that a service, so I'm going to order some parts to service that, just to make sure that if I am driving it, at least I give it the best chance of survival. I can't have all of my cars dying. That would just be a complete pain in the arse. So yeah, it's done a bit of saving in the last last week or whatever. It's been my runabout to school. I'll tell you what, it's the best runabout to take the Harper to school, because its turn-in circle is so great. I can just do turns in the road and I can get out of any situation. So bonus for that, but I do need to service it to make sure at least it runs. But with a new battery, it's all working fine now. Job's a good one. So that I'll chuck next door, put the new tyres back on it and get a new steering rack installed. Hopefully that'll be that one sorted and we can just use that as a run around, or I can anyway. Now the options for the Range Rover are interesting. So I either spend the 15 grand that Land Rover have quoted me for the complete fix, at least it'll be covered by them, and it's probably the best way of getting it done, but it's 15 grand, right? And I still need to get it recovered from the Alps up to Mulhouse, so what that's going to cost me another grand, roughly, I reckon. So that's 16,000. 16,000 for the Range Rover, but again, they have gone up in price, so I would be looking at the potential of then selling it on for 55, which, you know, I took a loan out for that, so I'm still paying for that car every month that I'm not using it. So it's like, it's worth bugger all now. It's broken, it's probably only worth about 20 when it's broken. So it's that funny option, right, of either I lose money on it by selling it as it is, or I have to invest more money in it to be able to have a car and then potentially sell it or not. We'll see. And I mean, neither one of those is a fantastic option. I don't want to lose money, but I don't have, you know, potentially 16 grand to chuck into it. So the option with Land Rover, as much as I'd like to do it, because then at least it'd be done by Land Rover and at least all covered in that sense, I don't have 16 grand and I don't want to really chuck it into it. So another option is I've found someone in the UK that does, because you have to take the entire body off the car. Yes, you have to take the entire Range Rover Sport massive body off the chassis in order to sort the engine. Lift the entire thing up. Yes. Seats and all, everything. The entire thing needs to be removed from the chassis. Crazy. So once they've done that, they can sort out the engine. So you can buy a reconditioned engine, which comes with fitting involved, for about £7 grand, so 8,000 euros. Plus you're talking probably about 2 grand to get up there, so 10. That would save me 6 grand. That's a massive saving, considering I don't have it in the fucking first place, so that's not exactly ideal. So that's another option. So I'm looking into that, and I've messaged a few people about that. So we'll see. So I've got option 1, Land Rover. Option 2, find someone that will do a reconditioned engine. Engines are quite expensive at the moment. I think everything like this is going up in price at the moment. Just supplies, just limited. So when you were paying about £3 for an engine before, you're paying about 5 now, which has increased the price, obviously, dramatically. So yeah, we have that option 1, option 2, or option 3, we go, well, we'll sit on the Range Rover for a bit, and I instead spend the money on fixing the Audi. So I want to do the chains and tensioners. I'll get all those done by a garage. They're probably talking about £4 for that. The parts alone are about 1,500 quid. So you're talking about £4 for that, because it's an engine out job. And then with the spray paint and everything, and basically fixing everything that needs to be fixed on that. You know, it's a fairly decent low mileage car as well, so it hasn't got that many miles on it, and the prices recently have gone up dramatically. And when I say dramatically, I do actually mean dramatically. These have gone up. I bought mine for £8 8 years ago, and with the low mileage ones in really good condition, and if I did all the work on this, this would be mint, you know, resprayed, interior's in great condition, a few bits that need changing and that, but everything works, everything's sorted. It would then have, you know, completely redone engine with change in tensioners, so that'll be fine. And it should run perfectly. It's got some uprated parts on there as well. So I was looking today, and they're going for, especially in euros at the moment, some of them are topping 20,000 euros. But in the UK, you're still looking, the UK prices, because it's a right-hand drive plate, you're still talking some of them up to, for a mint one, 15 grand, which is come up to double what I paid for it. So as an opportunity for more investment there as well, that makes more sense. But again, it's still spending about 6 grand, 6 or 7 grand. So each one from an investment point of view would be worth it, even if I spent the 16, 17 grand in option 1. From an outside, you know, afterwards point of view, resale point of view. But it's like, which one do you go for? You know, do I go for the easiest option and have to refinance as well to be able to cover option 1? Do I go option 2, which is cheaper, but it's more of a pain in the arse because I'd have to get it to the UK, I'd have to sort out all of that. And I've still got to find the, what is it, 7-8 grand? Or do I spend the least amount of money on the S4, get that sorted, and use that? I mean, that's way more fun. The car would then be worth more. I wouldn't sell that. I'm not going to sell the S4. That's just going to, like the Taxi, that's probably going to stay with me forever. That's the plan anyway. They're just going up in value now, and they always will. Especially now, you know, the V8s are going to be dying out. So that's an option. With the Range Rover, I'm not really sure what I'm going to do, short or long term. And that's because they won't be going up in value. You know, they have gone up in value recently due to COVID, but that's not going to remain. You know, we just know that. It just happens to be the situation at the time. So we're talking they're worth 50, 60 grand now, but that's going to start dropping soon. So I need to get that sorted at least at some point fairly soon, because if I don't, the prices will then drop again, and selling it on, I will just be at a loss completely. So that's more time critical than the Audi. The Audi I can do at any point. You know what I mean? So what would you do? This one putting out there. I haven't decided. I genuinely haven't. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm still working out some of the logistics of option 2, what it would actually take to get to the UK, if someone could actually do it, if they could just pick it up from where it is and drop it there, and I just pay them that way, and then I work out how to finance that. Sure. But otherwise, don't know what to do. Some of me just says, chuck the Audi next door. They were the people going to do the paint anyway. Get them to do the tensioners and everything. Get the whole car completely sorted. You know, 5-6 grand later, that car's absolutely perfect, and you know, it will be for some time. Ultimately, I'd like to do that to the Audi in general at some point. That's always been on the cards. It's just whether this is the time to do it now. So I've got a more operational, bigger car that I can use now instead of having to use the unknown Taxi. And I love driving the C1, but it's not exactly massive. So it's not exactly a family car. So what would you do? I'm leaving it to you guys. Audi, So option 1, 2 or 3. I'll put a poll up on the community tab, but I'm interested to see what you guys would think. Option 1, 2 or 3. Land Rover, easiest option, most expensive. Option 2, bit of a ball ache, more from my side of view, but cheaper. Or option 3, sort the Audi out and use that. And either way, what would you do? Would you fix the Range Rover and sell it, or would you fix it and keep it? If I sold that and got the money back from that, obviously I've still got the loan out on it, so I'd still be paying for that, and or I could clear that and put the money into a deposit and down payment on something else. So I could always do that. But what? I've got so many choices right now and I don't know what to do. So you guys let me know. I'm really interested in what you would choose. And I know this is a weird video. I just wanted to give you an update. I've got a couple more videos coming. In fact, they're scheduled, but I just wanted to give you an update on the Range Rover, what those costs were. And yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Anyway, see you on the next one. Peace.
Lock and loaded, it's time for war. Ha! Tear down, kick in the door. Yeah, I want it all, give me some more. Ha! I want it all, give me some more.